Listen to me. Stop waiting for somebody to come save you. Stop waiting for that friend, that boss, that family member to believe in you. Stop depending on other people to validate your dreams, your goals, your word, your word. You got to get to a point where you say, if nobody shows up for me, I'm still showing up for myself. Some of you are waking up every single day, hoping that somebody else gives you a green light. If they support me, I'll do it. If they invest in me, I'll start. If they cheer for me, I'll push harder. Let me tell you something. That kind of mindset will bury your potential. That will kill your greatness. Stop waiting for others to give you permission to chase your dreams. That idea right there is where most people get stuck. They have the vision, they have the hunger, they even have the potential, but they won't move because they're looking around hoping someone else will co-sign their calling. You don't need a cheerleader. You don't need a handout. What you need is to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm enough to start. Every single day, someone wakes up with a fire in their heart, but they let it go out because no one poured gasoline on. That's not how success works. That's not how purpose works. That's not how purpose works. You can't wait for someone to show up with a lighter and a kind word. This isn't a group assignment. This is your life. And as long as you keep handing the responsibility for your progress to someone else, you're going to stay stuck in neutral. People wait years, sometimes their whole life, because they think the timing has to be perfect or that they need someone more qualified to tell them they're ready. They think they need that mentor to finally notice them, that friend to finally support the business, that family member to finally understand the dream. But here's the truth. No one is obligated to believe in your vision. No one owes you their time, their energy, or their encouragement. That's your job. It's your responsibility to be so locked into your purpose that you chase it even if the world went silent. You have to stop outsourcing your belief. You were given a unique set of gifts, talents, and dreams that don't belong to anybody else. So why do you keep looking for other people to activate what's already inside you? Too many people are living according to someone else's blueprint. They're making decisions based on what will make others proud instead of what will make themselves fulfilled. That's why they stay in jobs they hate. That's why they keep shrinking in relationships where they can't breathe. That's why they bury their calling deep inside and try to convince themselves it wasn't real, because they're afraid of walking alone, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of being the only one who sees it. But that's how leaders are built. That's how legacy is made. When you stop waiting for the world to catch up and start running your own race, it's not supposed to make sense to everybody. It's not supposed to feel easy or obvious or safe. That's the price of purpose. It demands that you walk through fire when no one is around to hold your hand. It demands that you build muscle from struggle, confidence from rejection, clarity from solitude. When you depend on other people to validate your next move, you become a prisoner to their doubts, their fears, and their limitations. You start making choices based on their comfort instead of your calling. You start delaying your launch because they haven't clapped yet. You start dimming your light because they say it's too bright. That's not living. That's not living. That's survival. And you were built for more than that. You've got to reclaim your power. You've got to stop asking for directions from people who've never been to the destination you're headed toward. Stop putting your purpose up for a vote. Stop shrinking your dreams to fit in rooms you've already outgrown. The moment you understand that no one is coming to save you, you begin to save yourself. You begin to build the habits, the hunger, the hustle that can't be taken away. You begin to walk in purpose, not popularity. You begin to stand 10 toes down in your truth, even if no one's standing with you, because what's yours is yours, and no one else has the right to decide when you go get it. Depending on others for motivation or approval is one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into. It might feel good in the moment when someone tells you you're doing great, when they like your post, when they clap for your efforts. But what happened for your efforts? But what happens when they stop? What happens when the room goes quiet, when the text messages stop coming, when the people you leaned on suddenly disappear or grow distant? That's when most people fall apart. Not because they weren't capable, but because their foundation was built on someone else's validation. The truth is, people are human. People are unpredictable. They have their own struggles, their own distractions, their own chaos. You can't build a life depending on them to consistently show up for you. One day they're cheering, the next day they're too busy, the next day they're gone. And if your confidence is tied to their attention, you're gonna be on an emotional roller coaster for the rest of your life. You'll keep chasing their approval like it's oxygen when all along you were meant to breathe on your own. This world doesn't stop spinning because people don't support you. Opportunities don't stop knocking because someone didn't answer your call. But if you convince yourself that you can't move without someone else pushing you, then you already limited your own potential. Think about it. How many dreams have been buried because someone didn't believe? How many talents have been wasted because someone else couldn't see the vision? That's why you got to stop looking for someone to clap for you before you believe in yourself. They'll tell you your dream is too big because they never chased theirs. They'll tell you to play it safe because they're too scared to take risks. And if you keep depending on them to approve your decisions, you'll end up living their version of life, not yours. You'll find yourself stuck in places you don't belong, settling for things you never wanted, and pretending to be okay with mediocrity because someone else couldn't handle your ambition. Even the people who love you can unintentionally limit you. It's not always about hate or jealousy. Sometimes it's just their fear, their lack of vision, or their misunderstanding of your calling. But love, support, encouragement, they're all beautiful bonuses, not requirements. You have to stop needing people to agree with your purpose in order to pursue it. If it's real for you, if it keeps you up at night, if it burns in your soul, then you owe it to yourself to chase it with or without applause. Every time you delay a decision, waiting for someone else's input, you give away power. Every time you doubt yourself because someone didn't understand your idea, you weaken your own belief. You're looking for green lights from people who've never even driven a road you're on. You're trying to get confirmation from people who were never given your vision. They can't see it because it wasn't meant for them. And that's okay. They don't need to. You need to. Depending on others to carry your fire will burn you out. You have to learn how to be your own spark. You have to learn how to look at yourself and say, I'm proud of me, even when no one else is saying it. You have to learn how to wake up, put in the work, and go to sleep fulfilled. Not because someone else said you were great, but because you know you gave your all. This is the mindset of the unstoppable. This is the difference between those who chase their purpose and those who wait for permission. You can't afford to be at the mercy of other people's moods, opinions, or energy levels. You can't keep depending on someone to validate what's already been placed inside of you. You've got to wake up and decide that your belief in yourself is stronger than their silence. You've got to build a mindset that doesn't need applause to move, doesn't need agreement to act, doesn't need attention to rise. The most successful people in the world don't wait for an audience to perform. They don't need a crowd to stay committed. A crowd to stay committed. They don't need cameras rolling, the eyes watching to show up with discipline, focus, and energy. They train in the dark. They grind in the silence. They build their skills, their mindset, and their resilience without anyone watching because they know that greatness is developed in private long before it ever shows up in public. The problem with most people is that they only show up when someone is looking. They only give effort when they're being judged. They only stay consistent when there's someone there to clap for them or remind them why they started. That mindset is weak. That mindset doesn't last. If the only time you grind is when you're being watched, then you're not building a lifestyle. You're performing for attention. You're chasing validation, not purpose. True winners understand that the real work happens when no one is checking in. It happens in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the quiet hours when the world's asleep. It happens when you choose to stick to the routine, the plan, the process, even when your motivation is gone and the results haven't shown up yet. Success is born in those moments when quitting looks easy, but you keep pushing because you've made a promise to yourself. Training without an audience means you're not chasing recognition. You're chasing improvement. You're chasing transformation. You're chasing the best version of you. And that version doesn't come from applause. It comes from repetition, from sacrifice, from staying committed to a standard, even when no one is around to enforce it. You've got to be your own coach, your own motivator, your own reminder of why you started. Nobody's going to knock on your door and force you to be great. That's something you have to want so bad that you're willing to do the work in silence, with no credit, no spotlight, and no guarantee of praise. Too many people want to be rewarded before they've proven they can be consistent. They want the platform before they built the foundation. They want the outcome without the process. But it doesn't work that way. If you're not willing to show up and grind when no one's looking, you don't deserve to be seen when the lights come on. That's the cold truth. The world doesn't owe you attention just because you got talent and potential. You've got to earn it. You've got to be relentless enough to keep improving, keep working, keep showing up with the same energy, the same passion, whether there's one person in the room or 1,000. When you train without an audience, you develop something more valuable than recognition. You develop character. You build discipline. You train your mind to work regardless of emotions. You stop relying on external motivation and start creating internal drive. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs wait for inspiration. Professionals get to work. Amateurs need someone to push them. Professionals push themselves. You got to ask yourself which one you want to be. Do you want to be the person who only shows up when it's convenient, or the one who shows up because it's necessary? You've got to kill the habit of performing for approval. You've got to break the addiction to praise. You've got to be okay with being unseen, with being overlooked, with being underestimated while you're building. Because that silence isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's your season to build, to grow, to prepare for the opportunities that haven't come yet. And when those opportunities do come, you'll be ready, not because you were lucky, but because you were faithful in the dark. You stayed consistent when it didn't feel worth it. You practiced with intensity even when no one cared. You stayed true to the work because the work is what molds you into someone worthy of the platform you're chasing. When people don't show up for you, when they ignore your efforts, when they forget your name, when they overlook your potential, that's not a signal to stop. That's fuel. Let the silence be your soundtrack. Let the rejection be your reminder. Let the absence of support sharpen your edge. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life are born in the moments when you feel most alone, most dismissed, most doubted. It's in that space that you find out what you're really made of. Because when everything is quiet and there's no one clapping and no one watching, you start to hear your own voice. You start to feel your own strength. And if you lean into that, you can turn pain into purpose and disappointment into drive. Rejection doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means they couldn't see it. It means they weren't ready for it. It means they didn't understand what's inside you. And that's okay. It's not their job to understand it. It's your job to believe in it. Every no you've received, every time you were told to lower your standards, every time someone said you weren't ready, that was your training. That was your opportunity to prove that your belief isn't conditional. It doesn't disappear just because someone didn't clap for you. It doesn't shrink just because someone didn't see the value. You've got to stop taking rejection personally and start using it as a lesson. What did it teach you? Maybe it showed you how to work harder. Maybe it taught you who your real supporters are. Maybe it helped you realize you were depending too much on applause and not enough on your own fire. The more you rely on external validation, the easier it becomes for the world to control your emotions. One bad review, one negative comment, one person walking away, and suddenly your whole identity is shaken. That's a fragile way to live. That's a dangerous foundation to build on. But if you can learn how to move through rejection with your head high and your focus unshaken, there's nothing that can stop you. The people who make it to the top are not always the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to give up when the door slammed in their face. They're the ones who didn't crumble when the crowd left. They're the ones who understood that support is nice, but not necessary. You gotta learn to become your own source of strength. You've gotta learn to motivate yourself when no one's cheering. For no one's cheering. You've got to learn to keep showing up, keep grinding, keep chasing your goals, even when the world gives you nothing but silence. When you stop needing people to support you, you free yourself. You free yourself from their timelines, from their expectations, from their limited vision. You stop waiting for them to catch up and start moving at your own pace. You stop editing your dreams to fit their comfort zone. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never supposed to understand you in the first place. That's when the real growth begins. That's when the power shifts. You stop reacting to the lack of support and start creating your own momentum. The hunger that comes from being overlooked is powerful. The drive that's built in isolation is unmatched. The strength that grows from rejection doesn't fade. When people finally start clapping, it multiplies. It becomes a fire that doesn't die out when the room goes cold. It's consistent, it's pure, it's personal. It can take you further than any applause ever could. You gotta make peace with the silence. You gotta get comfortable in the shadows. That's where the real you is formed. Not the version that performs for the crowd, but the version that fights in the dark. The one who keeps showing up, keeps pushing, keeps growing, not for applause, but for purpose. The kind of strength that comes from rejection is deeper, sharper, more resilient. It doesn't rely on outside energy to move. It generates its own power. It fuels itself from within. You have to become your own support system. You have to be the one who wakes up and reminds yourself of who you are, even on the days when everything feels heavy and nothing makes sense. You can't rely on other people to consistently hold you up, because life doesn't always give you that luxury. Sometimes the people you thought would be there for you will fall silent. Sometimes the ones you depended on will be too distracted, too busy, or too broken themselves to carry anyone else. If you don't learn how to support yourself, how to speak life into yourself, how to stand tall, even when no one's in your corner, you will crumble when things get hard. You got to learn how to clap for yourself, even when you're making small progress, even when no one notices, even when you're still far from the finish line. That self-encouragement, that inner voice that tells you to keep going, is a muscle. And if you don't train it, it won't be there when you need it most. Too many people are waiting to hear someone else say, "I'm proud of you," when the truth is, you need to say it to yourself every day. You need to believe in your own effort, honor your own discipline, and respect your own hustle. The world is not always going to hand you encouragement. You're not always going to receive praise when you put in the work. Most of the time, the grind is invisible. Most of the time, the sacrifices you make are known only to you. And that's why it's so important to learn how to keep showing up without expecting a reward. You've got to learn how to become so connected to your purpose, so aligned with your goals, that the lack of external support doesn't shake you. That's what separates the ones who rise from the ones who stay stuck. It's not just talent. It's not just luck. It's the ability to support yourself from within, to become your own foundation when everything else feels unstable. You are going to face days where doubt creeps in, days when you question everything you're doing, days when the path ahead feels foggy and your confidence feels paper thin. On those days, you won't need another voice. You'll need your own. Your voice needs to be the loudest. Your belief needs to be the strongest. You have to be the one to look at your reflection and say, "I've got this." Not because someone else believes in you, but because you do. That self-belief, that inner confidence is built when you stop looking outward and start reinforcing what's already inside of you. You've also got to be honest with yourself. If you're not putting in the work, don't sugarcoat it. If you're slipping, call yourself out. That's what it means to support yourself. It's not just about being your own cheerleader. It's about being your own accountability partner. You push yourself because you want more. You discipline yourself because you know what's at stake. You don't allow yourself to slack off just because no one's watching. That's how self-respect is built. That's how consistency is formed. Learning to support yourself means you build emotional strength. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're on the right path. You develop the ability to trust your own judgment. You understand that it's okay to be misunderstood. It's okay to walk alone. It's okay to be the only one clapping at times. Because you're not doing it for applause. You're doing it for alignment, for growth, for legacy, for the version of yourself you've been working so hard to become. When you become your own support system, you become unshakable. You build a mindset that doesn't collapse under pressure. You create a lifestyle that doesn't require anyone to carry you because you've already learned how to carry yourself. That's where your real power comes from. Not from how many people back you, but from how deeply you've learned to back yourself. The moment you depend on others to believe in your purpose, you surrender your control. You hand over the steering wheel of your life to someone else who doesn't know your vision, your fire, or your why. You were given a dream for a reason, and that reason wasn't to wait for someone to give you the green light. The longer you wait for outside approval, the more you delay your growth. You outsource your power every time you let someone else's opinion outweigh your own conviction. You give away your authority every time you hesitate because someone didn't agree with your goals. And when you live like that, you're not creating from strength, you're reacting from fear. The people you're waiting weren't assigned your mission. They weren't in the room when your dream was born. They weren't present when the vision came to life inside your heart. So why do you expect them to carry something they can't even see? You have to stop waiting for them to validate what was never theirs to understand. Most people won't believe in you until after you succeeded. And even if their belief is shallow, it's easy to cheer for the result. But where were they during the process? Where were they when you were up late studying, grinding, building? You were alone with your thoughts, your doubts, your fears, and you still kept going. That's where your strength lives. There's nothing wrong with support, but depending on it is dangerous. When you depend on support to move, you stop moving the moment it disappears. When you depend on other people's belief, you go numb when they question you. You hesitate, you shrink, you hold back. That's not power. That's permission seeking disguised as progress. You weren't born to be passive. You weren't made to be controlled by the shifting energy of others. You were made to stand firm, to push forward, to take full ownership of the life you want to build. You need to stop giving people access to parts of your mind that were designed for courage, not fear. When you invite their opinions into spaces that require boldness, you'll find yourself second-guessing what you were once sure of. You'll take detours that never needed to happen. You'll start editing your dream to make it more acceptable, more digestible, more comfortable for them. And in the process, you lose touch with what made that dream powerful in the first place. You water it down, not because it's too much, but because you're afraid it might be too much for them to handle. Taking back your power means trusting your intuition. It means understanding that the vision you have doesn't require a fan club. It requires commitment. It requires you to keep showing up even when no one's clapping. It requires you to do the work when nobody's watching. It requires you to have conversations with yourself that say, I know what I'm building, and I don't need your approval to finish it. And that's the mindset of a leader. That's the mindset of someone who's no longer giving other people the ability to stop their momentum. And so, man, you don't need everybody to believe. You just need to move. You need to take the next step, then the one after that. You need to focus on progress, not popularity. You need to realize that if you don't take control of your narrative, someone else will write it for you, and it won't be the version that sets you free. Reclaiming your power means becoming brutally honest about how many decisions you've made just to keep others comfortable. How many times you said yes when your soul screamed to no? How many dreams you paused because someone else didn't see the value? You are not here to live according to someone else's fear. You are not here to carry other people's insecurities. You are here to walk in purpose. You are here to build something real. And the foundation of that starts with personal ownership. It starts when you say, this is mine. This life, this purpose, this dream, it belongs to me. No more giving it away. No more delaying it because of silence or skepticism. No more shrinking because someone else couldn't handle your shine. You stop outsourcing your power the moment you decide you don't need anyone's permission to be great. So now it's on you. No more waiting. No more wishing. No more blaming. No, you don't need another handout, another lifeline, another pat on the back. What you need is already inside you. Grit, fire, focus, faith. You've heard enough, you've planned enough, you've doubted enough. It's time to move. It's time to show the world what happens when someone stops depending on others and starts depending on themselves. You were built for this. You were born for this. You were born for this. Stand up, lock in, and go claim what's yours.